Welcome in, Tuesday edition, Hot Ice. First, a little behind the scenes. Marty, why don't you pop yourself on the screen?
How we doing, boys?
Look at this guy. It's as ever Carl said. It's like the Oval Office.
Guy looks like he's just about to make an
I'm actually where I'm at is actually really insane. There's some private equity guy. Like, I don't know. It's nuts. It's a friend of Joey's. It's crazy.
Yeah, we don't produce a shame. We bust balls with our guys. You're our guy, but I mean, this is insane. It's like it's an Oval Office. Like, you look like somebody comes in to sign their closing on a house.
Yeah, I was working last night, and this is where I ended up doing my work.
Is that chair swiveled, Marty?
Oh yeah, it swivels.
Oh, you know.
Whoa! You go full green leather armchair with a swivel. You son of a bitch, man.
That's right. I made it, Carl.
You got big hardwood walls.
Yeah, how hard is the desk? Let's see the desk. That's got to be oak. Oh, man,
that's a big knock.
That's a good
That's
oak.
a big
Good one.
That's like a 34, 32. You hit that shit at 375.
We're going to get an email from HR in a week. It's like, Playboy Marty's leaving the company for some fucking high-end private equity firm to be the internal marketing guy. Don't do it, Marty.
I'd be so bad at that. I'd be so bad at that job.
All right. So that's
not while the hit parade's plus 11 units, guys.
Yeah, exactly. That's Marty. Yeah, we did it last time. I have 5 out of 6. We've hit 5 out of the last 6 for the hit parade. It's on fire. It's 11 units. It's very simple. Like I said, we're going to start taking some risks here, some lesser known guys. Jack McCarthy every time has to Google the guy because he doesn't know who they are. He thinks we're fucking with him. I'll start right now. The guy's been on fire. I've been going more towards guys on fire than the historic pitching matchups. I'm going to go with Brendan Rodgers for the Rockies. Guy can hit. He's the 3-hitter. He's really good. So I'm going to roll with them. They're at home at Coors. He's probably going to get 11 at bats tonight. Just how it goes. I'll take them. Ev, who are you putting in?
I think I'm doing the same, Rico. I'm going with this guy that no one's ever heard of. I think he just got called up. Goes by the name. It's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, I think is the name. I haven't heard much about him. Apparently, he's a big prospect. Not the biggest guy in the world, but he's got a little pop in his bat, apparently. So we're going to see what he can do tonight. Apparently, he hits well in Seattle.
My only problem with Aaron Judge is that he hits too many home runs. So,
yeah, but he hits a
rally killer. Rally killer.
Hey, I'm going to keep it safe and go Altuve. The hit parade's so hot. I'm glad we're leading with the hit parade because it's plus 11 units. And it's one thing to promote these props. It's another thing when you promote these props and they're just cashing time and time again. I could get cute like I have before. I think the last loser I threw up on the board was Nico Horner, and that was me getting cute. I'm just going to be real safe, guys. We're going with Jose Altuve. I've been riding his train a little bit. I know, Ev, you hate his guts, but choo. I'm staying on the Astros train out there left field. I'm becoming a Jose Altuve guy. I don't give a shit.
Hey, listen, the hit parade's all business. All business. The guy hits. It's simple as that.
Is Ev, is it Judge or Goldschmidt, would you say, is the hit parade MVP right now? I just pulled it up. Judge is 4-2. We can go through that late, but like gun to head right now, you have 1 vote. Who's your MVP?
I have to go with my guy. You know, I have to go
Judge.
Judge.
Right.
I'm a big Goldschmidt guy. I have been since his Diamondback days. I've loved Goldschmidt for a long time.
Carl, you know what we got to do is rig the voting. We put Altuve in no matter what every day now and just fuck with him.
I don't mind. Listen, he hits.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mind.
Cash the tickets. Jack will get us a price. I had 2 quick headlines. The first one's super quick because I really only have like 1 or 2 words on it. But shout out to the Baltimore. We've been saying it forever. Shout out to the Baltimore Orioles. Trade their guys. They're just playing. They're a game out. I really hope they make the wild card. I don't think anyone can say anything different. That's just really how it goes. If you want to do something quick, like it's just good that these teams they sell and they still make the playoffs. I just think that shows a ton of balls. It's been a while since Baltimore's really good. I'm rooting for Baltimore. Carl, I would imagine you feel the same.
Yeah, it's honestly one of the more historic fan bases in baseball. When you have a good team, the Orioles, like those fans definitely show up. They have terrible ownership too. I mean, just downright terrible ownership that's really prevented them from taking like big steps. I mean, they loaded up on that Chris Davis contract and have been gun shy ever since. The Orioles deserve a great team, like I said, because they show up and because of the history. But the thing that to me is, to your point, Rico, is really cool is just how much emphasis there is on superstar power to build a winning team. And to go over the top, the Orioles are definitely going to have to add like big name players and all that shit. And their prospects are going to have to develop the Gunnar Hendersons of the world and shit. But like, it's so cool to me that Brandon Hyde has the guys playing as hard as they are in the most balanced division. Like, there are no cupcakes on that schedule. They've been through the ringer through the first 2 months of the season. And we talked about them a lot on the show early, is like, hey, you guys can get some value in April and May. I've been so surprised. I never thought it would turn into this. I didn't think we'd be sitting here and like, we're nearing mid-August, and it's like they are absolutely knocking on the door for playoff contention. And once they get to September, you've got 4 weeks left in the season. You're going to play 25 to 28 games. It won't matter. It won't matter. They've got momentum. They've got steam.
Right.
But like, more curious to me is like, Big F, do you respect the Orioles as like a diehard Yankee follower? Like, or are they like just always going to be a little brother to you?
No, I respect what they've done this. No, I respect what they've done this year. And I do have a respect for the teams that don't, like, as much as I want to be like an arrogant asshole about like the Yankees having all the money, I do appreciate and respect the baseball teams that don't have the money, that are able to put together these good teams with not as many resources, because it's really fucking hard to do. You see teams that struggle with it for a long, long time. And we've seen the division, like the Rays have done it for a long time. So even though I dislike them, there's kind of like a mutual respect there that been able to put teams in the field time and time again that have made deep runs in the playoffs, made World Series without spending much money. So I have a respect for what they're doing. It's funny because with them, they really haven't been relevant in a while. Like, we used to have some good runs with them, like in the those late those like Adam Jones teams, obviously, and like those guys. But no, I appreciate what they've done, and I was a Mancini guy too, so I hated to see him go. A lot of respect for Trey Mancini, but I mean, now they're really. And another thing I think that's sneaky about them is, we've talked about how the lineup is considerably deep for how much money they've spent, but that bullpen is sneaky, very, very good. If you look at, like, especially they got rid of Lopez, who's the all-star closer. If you look at some of the guys they have in the bullpen, they got a lot of guys with some low ERA, some really good numbers. Like, so they've done a really good job kind of like just building these guys up and like finding the right pieces and mix and match and put them together. And they put together a fucking good baseball team. They're not a doormat. They're a legitimate, solid baseball team.
I have three best bullpens because it touches on a bet I have today, but the three best bullpens in terms of ERA: Houston 2.68, I should say. Yankees 3.02, Baltimore 3.09, and they're above the Dodgers at 3.14. I mean, the Baltimore Orioles bullpen is really, really good. So, and again too, I think you can like kind of root for the Orioles because they're not really a threat. Like, if you guys lose to them, God wants you to lose. I don't think they could take you in a playoff series. So it's a nice thing, like, hey, just get the Orioles into the playoffs. On the flip side, Ev gets mad when I say this. Carl, you can kind of be the tiebreaker here. The Padres are 1-5 since the Soto and Bell trade. Now, I get it. You went to play the Dodgers, and that hurts, but they split games against the Rockies. They lose last night to the Giants, who we've talked about have kind of packed it in. Is the Padres, like, it's one of those, I compare it today to, like, are they going to not, is the window going to close before they can experience the view? Now, I get it. I could be eating my words when we're playing that Padre lineup, and, our almighty starting rotation is getting eaten alive, especially when Tatis comes back, who's in rehab. And the Padres are bombing the ball on us, and I'm staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning for 10 o'clock games, and I'm crying my eyes out. I get it. But they have Soto for the next couple of years. Like, if the Dodgers keep taking him over the leg and spanking him, did the Padres kind of waste their prime or waste this opportunity? It's just something to keep an eye on. Like, that's where I'm looking at. Like, are they kind of fraudulent? Do we think that they'll break through and beat the Dodgers? I know it's a lot to unpack. That's a ton of like hypotheticals, but I'm like, hey, they look really good on paper, but they haven't done shit. And if you remember, this is the team who was yapping all of last year, like breaking all the rules, like in everybody's asshole, and they didn't make the playoffs last year, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just looking, big bad Padres, like big bad, like you guys are, overcompensating for something. So, Carl, I'm interested to your point.
Yeah, the Padres, it's easy to have such like a quick reaction right now because they made what is, in my opinion, the biggest trade in Major League history. And how Juan Soto fits into that lineup is, it should happen quick. It's not like a catcher's coming over and has to learn a staff and build and grow like knowledge within the team. Juan Soto just has to go out there, play right field, hit second, third, fourth in the lineup, and be a productive player. The problem is exactly as you bring up, like any other team that they got to go play against, the Dodgers are just so utterly complete. And if you really want to like put your brain in a pretzel, just go look at their payroll. It's just like look at the way all of it's structured and how these players are in there at 15 million, 18 million, 17 million, and then how many guys are in there at league minimum deals. It's just an insane testament to how much of a wagon, as I'd like to call them, that the Dodgers have built. It's easy as a Padres fan to come back and say, this was a fucking mistake. It's easy for a National Baseball fan to look at it and be like, well, see, this is why you never trade your guys. But the reality is like that Juan Soto may not be the biggest threat in that lineup. He might be like the third biggest threat in that lineup over like a multi-week stretch when Tatis comes back. And it's just a matter of being patient. Where it's really going to pay off is having Juan Soto in your lineup. If they do get to the playoffs, there is like when you see that number one, when you're opposite, like a Max Scherzer or a Jacob deGrom, you have like a qualified bat that absolutely can put a crooked number up on the scoreboard. And that's why you paid all that money for him. So it's really just a matter of the rest of the team, the pitching staff staying strong. But the last thing you want is these guys to look at Juan Soto and be like, well, now we're better. Like, no, you're not that much. You still have to go out and play your fucking game. You got to get pitches up in the zone. Like you have to be sound defensively, locked in, engaged. Like it works both ways. Honestly, I think it helps for the Padres that they've had a little bit of a slow out of the start so they can ramp it up and then just close the season out and get some momentum, as opposed to like, oh, get this boost. Now they're rocking and rolling and there's 2 weeks left in the season. And like, this is it. Challenge yourselves now. But I will say that they are miles behind, in my opinion, a 7-game series against the Dodgers and the Mets. And like, I would probably price the Braves a little bit over them.
Ev?
I would agree with Carl just said about the pricing on those 3 teams. Well, more, I would say just to preface what Rico said at the beginning about me jumping down his throat. I jumped down his throat because they lost like 1 or 2 games, and Rico was like, "Did they blow it?" Like he was like, "Did they?" He was like, "Will they ever beat the Dodgers?" And I'm like, "God, the Dodgers have been the best team in the league for like 10 years, maybe a little less than that." But you know what I'm saying? Like they've been the class of the MLB for the last few years. Like they're probably the best team this year, the most talented team. They have the best record. They've been on an absolute tear right now. So, I mean, Rico was like, they literally lost, I think, 2 games. And they lost a game to the Rockies. They lost a game to the Rockies, and they lost a game to the Dodgers. And Rico was like, did they just blow it up? Like,
I watched them. I did the TikTok on Max Kellerman. Is Brady over the hill, and then he goes and wins 3 Super Bowls. Like, I'm practicing you got to stir the pot a little bit. Get everybody going. I get your point.
Listen, and they might not, because the Dodgers are so good. And they're talented right now, and they're going to be talented for a long time. They literally have just signed. Like obviously, like I think this is exactly what I said to you the other day. Like Betts is going to be there for a while. Freeman's going to be there for a little while. Like Turner should be there for. They have a ton of guys that should be there for a while. It's not like they're like an aging team that it's kind of like the end of the run. The Dodgers are still going to be very much in the mix for a long time if they keep doing what they're doing. But I mean, it's just so early to say anything about the Padres. Like I think this is a trade where even if it doesn't happen this year, I'm not concerned about them. I think it's really more you get a fresh start next year, and that lineup, I mean, that opening day lineup should look, as long as everyone's healthy, should look just unbelievable on paper. Like you said, a lineup where it literally could be like Tatis, Cronenworth, Soto, Bell, go down the list, just an insanely stacked lineup. But I mean, I think it's more about like obviously you'd like to make a run this year, no doubt about it. But I mean, next year I think is where you really judge if it's this time next year and they're not in the playoff race and they're like a little out of it still, then I would understand where you're like, what are we doing here? Like this team's super talented. They have no excuse not to be in the mix.
100%. I'm just putting it in a tickler file of one of those things like Dodgers-Padres rivalry, but it can't be a rivalry if the other, one team never wins, Like,
for sure.
The Knicks, I mean, we feel it all the time as Knicks-Bulls. That Knicks-Bulls rivalry was great. Yeah, it was great. We get some good games, and the Knicks never fucking won. So like you can live back on that and have nice games and fill up MSG Classics for all you want. But if the Padres don't win, it's not really a rivalry. The Dodgers
I do want to add that there was a point in time, the Yankees and the Red Sox rivalry, the late 90s and early 2000s, to me will not ever has not been matched yet in any sport. But there's that moment, right, where like the Red Sox come back, obviously down 3-0 04, and it just like completely shifts the tone. Now that rivalry didn't go anywhere for like a number of years. Still Sunday Night Baseball was filled up and there was like big balance to it. And so to me, I think like there is some comparison there with the Padres and this Dodgers rivalry. It's not nearly as hot or heated, but the Padres need a big. They're going to need something big to put that entire organization over, from the fucking ball boys down at the AA team to the guy who's sweeping the floors at the spring training facility and the traveling secretary booking flights down to the manager and the fucking bullpen. Like, those guys need to see it across the board to feel it that they belong. And the same thing with the Cubs when they beat the Cardinals in the 2015 NLDS. It was like, holy shit. No, not only did we rebuild, like, we belong. And so you can make all the trades and you can play the Sunday night baseballs in the 3-game series and all stuff, but really it won't be until the Padres have an opportunity either to win the division at the end of the season and it's like going head to head with the Dodgers, or should they be lucky enough to get them in an NLDS or NLCS?
No, that's a great point. I'll say this in closing too. If the Red Sox don't win that 0-4 series, the Yankees still look back on that rivalry and like, yeah, we owned, like, yeah, it was a rivalry, but you never won. You literally, like, the Red Sox had to win in 0-4 because 0-7 and 0-8 was different. They didn't go necessarily head to head. That's almost like the epilogue of that rivalry. Carl, what's that face?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
No, that face was, I think,
literally froze like this. Like, what's he fucking talking about? So if the Red Sox don't win in 0-4, like, that changes the whole thing. So, you know, when the Red Sox had a nice epilogue, but like you have to get that. So I'm interested to see if the Padres have the stones or the paper tiger. It's going to be fun to see. That was great. Fucking rivalry baseball. That's what ticks. Dog of the day. I'm going to go with an ugly one. I'm going to go with the Pirates plus 143. Tommy Henry on the bump for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Second start. He got lit up by Cleveland in his last one. Pirates have a bad lineup, got shut out last night. I'm just looking at like a little spunk. Maybe guys are tired of staring at zeros. Somebody goes deep early. We get to a bullpen. This guy's for Henry's not going to go deep. We'll see what we can do. I'm going to go with an ugly, ugly dog of the Pirates plus 143. Ev, who are you going with?
Shut up, my guy Chris Castellani. We're going with the Detroit Tigers today plus 165. Alexander's been pitching pretty well as of late. I think this is a good matchup. Very low total, 7.5 total. Almost really more like a 7 total. Really, really low. We're thinking it's Bieber versus Alexander. Obviously, on paper, you give the slight edge to Cleveland, but I think Detroit at home, like I said, Alexander's been throwing well. I think it's a big, big line. I like him plus 165 at home.
Okay. Did we just drop Carl? All right, we'll circle back to him. I got the best bet. It is fucking Juice. I had to go with a dog who was heavy to kind of compensate for this one. I got Toronto minus 167. Shout out to again, we talked about the Orioles and how good they're playing. You got Manoah on the bump, okay? This is one of those I say all the time, like, Toronto just has to go get this win. Lost last night. Kyle Bradish going for the O's. He does not go deep. And we talked about the Orioles bullpen being really good, right? They went 3 1/3 last night, including their closer. No. So the starter went 5 2/3. Used a lot of that bullpen back-to-back nights. We know how that can go. If they're going to get to Bradish and use that bullpen, a lot of guys from last night probably won't be available tonight. I just think Toronto has to get it right, has to get the lineup going. I really would hope it's a cruiser. I think Toronto has to get on them early and go win. And we've talked about it. They let a ton of teams hang around. They're fucking 10.5 out of the race. It's just interesting. Toronto, I'm wondering when they're going to hit their stride. I think tonight they got to go get it. I would lay the 167. Ev, who's your best bet?
So I'm on them both ways on pick schedule, but my best bet for right now for this is the Blue Jays first 5 minus a half run. I like a minus 115. I love Manoah. You touched on Brandish. Yeah, and he actually pitched very well last start, which is a total outlier. He's been pretty shitty most of the year. I think this is just a massive, massive discrepancy in the pitching matchup, especially through the first 5. Getting a minus half a run, minus 115, I think is a good. Also, kind of a crazy set. I think it was the Blue Jays like the last 11 times, and something like crazy number, like 10 or 11, 9, 10, 11 times they've lost to the Orioles. They've won the next game against the Orioles.
Okay.
So a little stat there for the people, but yeah, I took a money line as well for the full game, but I'm saying for the best bet, I want him first 5 minus a half a run.
Got it. So Carl, I'm on the Pirates and the Blue Jays. Ev is on the Detroit Tigers and the Blue Jays first 5. So who are you rolling with as far as a dog?
Yeah, a little technical difficulties here, guys. My apologies. Dog. Guys, we got a juicy one plus 145 that fits a classic hot ice storyline that's emerged, and that's it. The Athletics are going to finish higher than the Angels. I'm taking the A's here. It's just the spot. It's all spot. It's Ohtani on the mound, on the road. Like normally when I take these spots, somebody throws a no-hitter, but I'm just going to ride with my gut. And then best bet, Sucker City, USA, population Barstool just recently by the Mariners. There's got to just be some chip. They played well last night after getting swept by the Cardinals. It's just like, I'll take the minus 134 all day, even though I know the Mariners play well behind Castillo since they traded for him. Don't really care. It's just as simple as being like, I'm never going to see Garrett Cole minus 134 until next year.
Yeah. Ev, who's crazy? You talked about it yesterday too. There was only 6 games, ton of them late night. Like you were pulling the midnight oil last night. No East Coast games. All right, so I like the Mariners as well. The one I looked at the A's, but I worry a little bit about getting Ohtani. Can you really get Ohtani 3 times in a row? I think he's lost his last 2 starts. We'll see. I think the A's are pesky. I like it. We'll see what we can do. Extra innings. I'm trying to think exactly if there's anything out there that really kind of jumped out. Ev, you guys are in trouble a little bit.
No.
Would you rather have
so?
Haven't you lost like 5 out of 6 and you're 14 and 20 since
we won last night.
Okay. 14 and 20 since the All-Star break. All right. I actually like the slump a little bit now.
That's kind of what I said on Pixel yesterday. People are like acting like it's the end of the world. It's the beginning of August. If this was the end of September, we're playing this, I'd feel a little differently. We're also in the one thing I would say I am concerned about is we're getting hit with the injury bug big as of late. Like losing Michael King for the year was brutal. Now, like Giancarlo's been on the DL. I don't know when he's coming back. Obviously, Severino's on the 60-day IL. Matt Carpenter broke his foot yesterday. That's brutal. He says he's going to try to be back. Hopefully that he can be back before the end of the year. But the injury bug's the thing I'm more worried about than anything. I think that's been what's killing us. Because I'm afraid when some of these guys out of the line, like Rizzo's been banged up. We've missed him the last few games, and they've kind of been wishy-washy the way they've talked about him. Like, they've held him out, I think, the last 3 or 4 games, but didn't put him on the 10-day IL or anything. So I think they said it's a lower back issue, I believe. I'm not fully – they've kind of been very not telling us exactly what's going on there. But the injuries are the thing that I'm more worried about than anything. But, like I said yesterday, we predicted right. We'll see how this year – we do just – for some reason, we just hit well in Seattle. We kind of just play well in Seattle. Judge hits well in Seattle as well, but just as a team, the Yankees, I feel like my whole life we've just kind of played well there. So I thought this was a good spot for us to go back and get a few back after they beat us a few times in the Bronx. But we'll see. I mean, Castillo threw a hell of a game against us just the other week, so we'll see what happens tonight. I am on the over, though. I do like the over in that game.
Okay.
It's low. It's
Carl,
7.
actually, this was the extra innings I had in my head. Carl, 2 things. One, is Austin Riley an idiot for taking $220 million? Isn't that the biggest fucking discount ever? And how was Goldberg?
Great. Austin Riley's not stupid because it's $200 million. So, if it's down the road, 4 MVPs and the Braves are the best team of all time, and it's clear that he's made all the difference, then you can start second guessing yourself. But it's not the Rizzo 7-year, $42 million contract that, that like makes you lose sleep at night if you're Anthony Rizzo. Getting credit to Austin Riley too. I mean, it's not too long ago people were talking about him as a prospect and him as somebody who might be somebody who could do some damage, and now the guy's 212, 20 something. Dude, it's insane the amount of money that like how that changes your life. And the transition to Goldberg, I'll tell you, that guy is just about as regular as it gets. Like all he wanted to do was talk about college football. All he wanted to do, he's just like one of the guys. He really is one of the guys. And there was like this weird moment there where like Jake's internet cut out just for like a second. We were like, oh, let's pause for a second. We'll wait for Jake to come in because we're going to wrap the show. And it was just me and Goldberg sitting there. And I know it's dead air. I know it's not going to be like in the show. And I was just like, hey, dude, like, just so you know, I've heard you talk before about like being a superhero to kids. And like, I'm one of those kids. And this is like the coolest thing of all time. And he was like, bro, that's why I do this. Like, that is so cool to hear. And I was like, I know, like, just getting prepped for this interview and reliving all the memories and moments and stuff. And he was like, that's literally the number one reason why
I love getting in the ring and being like a wrestler and shit. So I don't know. We talked about this before. Now it's like hard to get, you want to do good content. You want to be like a good content guy. But then every now and then there's like these sentimental moments where you're like, holy fuck. I'm sitting here with Bill Goldberg talking about his career pre-internet, like what would he change differently? What was the time he was like, no, that's too aggressive. I'm not going to do that shit. Spoiler alert, that never happened to the fucking guy. He was always down to do the stunts. Just crazy shit, man. So we're lucky. We say this when we get a chance to really make it clear, like we're lucky to do this job. Goldberg was awesome. Go check out the interview. It's on Starting 9 now. And I talked to Dave today on this show we published called the Dave Portnoy Show, and I was making sure we should get some more juice on the hit parade. I was making sure everybody knows we're plus 1105.
Fantastic. Yeah, 11.05. I'll say this in closing. I'm probably going to get slammed for it in the comments. And WWF was a little too racy in my house. We were allowed to watch WCW. When Goldberg came out and like he was like a mid-level guy. So, yeah, you had to, like, sneak the Austin clips. I knew all the stuff, but you had to flip, and somebody would stand guard down the hall to make sure my mom and dad weren't coming for WWF. We had full reign on WCW. But the first time Goldberg comes out, and, the fucking fire – I think this was even before the fireworks. He was, like, a mid-level guy, and that's that finishing move of just ramming and tackling somebody goes to show you about college football and just lighting somebody up and then putting them up and just – and then he started with the fireworks, and he's like 100-0, and they're putting him in he was like, you were like, holy shit, like this guy's this is literally professional wrestling. Like this guy is built to be a star. So very cool. We got to get out of the way now. 12 o'clock, or Brandon Walker fines us money, which we can't afford because he makes $3 million. So we don't want to put any more money in his pocket. Go check out Pick Central. The hit parade's coming. It's the hottest bet in sports. That's the Hot Ice Crew. We'll see you on Thursday.